Elizabeth Warren just released the paperback version of her new book called A Fighting Chance, and in the afterword, she has an incredible story which really shows you how massively screwed up our financial system and political system is. So she talks about the time that JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon came in her office after she got reelected, and this is what happened. Quote, "When the conversation turned to financial regulation and Dimon began complaining about all the burdensome rules his bank had to follow, I finally interrupted. I was polite but definite. No, I didn't think the biggest banks were overregulated. In fact, I couldn't believe he was complaining about regulatory constraints less than a year after his bank lost billions in the infamous London whale high-risk trading episode. I said I thought the banks were still taking on too much risk and that they seemed to believe the taxpayers would bail them out again if something went wrong. Our exchange heated up quickly. By the time we got to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, we weren't quite shouting, but we were definitely raising our voices. Dimon told me what he thought it would take to get Congress to confirm a director, terms that included gutting the agency's power to regulate banks like his. By this point, I was furious. Dodd-Frank had created default provisions that would automatically go into effect if there was no confirmed director, and his bank was almost certainly not in compliance with those rules. I told him that if that happened, I think you guys are breaking the law. Suddenly, Dimon got quiet. He leaned back and slowly smiled. He said, quote, "So hit me with a fine. We can afford it." Oh, God. Oh, God, that's so gross. So let's fully understand everything in context here. What Elizabeth Warren is talking about is systemic flaws in our financial system that led to the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. If you want to go back in time, in 1929, it led to the stock market crash and the Great Depression. She's talking about the problem of not properly regulating these big banks and these investment firms on Wall Street. And then what ends up happening is they take on too much risk and they end up bankrupting themselves and bringing down the world economy in the process. So she's talking about how, yeah, this is a problem and you guys aren't really complying with the regulations and you're breaking the law in doing so. And Dimon's like, so what? Okay, yeah, so we're not complying with the regulations. Fine me. I don't give a shit. We can afford the fines. So what he's doing is he's flaunting the fact that the banks are above the law. He's flaunting the fact that there's nothing that the government, that Congress, that the president or the regulators or anybody can do to really get them to do your bidding. He's flaunting the fact that they can get away with whatever the hell they want to get away with and they're going to be fined at the end of the day. Because what does he know? He knows that there's not going to be criminal charges. Because Eric Holder had alluded to that fact and let them off the hook easy, and others have let them off the hook easy, and you're basically giving them a green light. If they crash the world economy and bankrupt their companies, and then we turn around and bail them out, and then when we bail them out, there's not even any strings attached, well, then what lesson are they going to take away from it? Oh, whenever we fuck up, mommy and daddy are always going to be here to take care of us. And then forget it. When they commit crimes and they do outright fraud in some instances and they violate clear regulations, it's not like they're scared of the consequences. They already know, hey, you need us more than we need you. No matter what, you're not going to punish us, so what's going to happen? Well, we'll fuck up again. We'll enrich ourselves at the cost of the entire world economy, and then you're going to come in like our good little bitch and do our bidding. And worst case scenario, we get a slap on the wrist, and that slap on the wrist is what? Just a little fine. And remember, there's always these like accounting tricks that they do with the fines also. Remember, I think it might have been JPMorgan, but it also may have been Goldman Sachs. I don't remember which one it was. They had the record fine, and then like half of it or something crazy was tax deductible. Like, take the number, chop it in half because that number was, overblown and there were tricks in there to make it seem higher than it was. So immediately chop it in half, and then you chop the half that you just chopped in half again, and then that's what they actually paid in a fine, and they make that in like a month or so. I mean, this is what we're talking about here. So why should anybody be surprised when you have Wall Street going right back to the same tricks that they did before, which ended up crashing the economy and causing the Great Recession. Nobody should be surprised. I mean, another example, I know I always go back to this example, but it's so telling. Look at what happened with Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs sold packages of subprime mortgages to their clients, and they told them, look, these are rated AAA or whatever it is, and you're going to make a lot of money on this, give us X amount, and then watch your return on investment. It'll shoot through the roof. You'll be really happy. So they sold these packages as if their clients are going to make a lot of money. Then they'd turn around after they sold the packages and bet on that product to fail, bet on those packages to fail. So you know what we call that in the business? Fraud. You told somebody that this was a good product when you knew it was a bad product, and you bet for that product to fail. That's like telling somebody, yeah, this used car is great, everything is running properly, and you should totally buy it. It'll be great. And then they buy it, and they drive out the lot, and the fucking wheels fall off, and the engine explodes. And you placed a bet that was going to happen with your buddies after you sold the fucking car. You can't do that. You can't do that. Except here's the thing. They can do that. Now, how do we know that they can do that? Because they fucking did it, and they got away with it. And all along, good progressives have been screaming from the top of their lungs, people including Elizabeth Warren, they've been saying, wait. What are we doing here? We're not gonna crack down on them? We're not gonna bring charges against them? Why is it that if you're somebody who robs a convenience store and takes $30 out of the register and a pack of cigarettes, your punk ass gets 25 years in jail, but if you do the equivalent of robbing millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars from people in terms of their mortgages, well, it's all right, and you get a fucking bonus at the end of the year, and you get bailed out. That doesn't make any sense, right? Well, it only makes sense within the context of the system that we have. And the system that we have is you have the people on Wall Street, the people in the big banks, they give money to the politicians, and the politicians turn around and do their bidding. And they buy off everybody in government. It's not just in Congress, it's in all the fucking branches. I mean, you think they don't have a lockdown in one way or another on the Justice Department and on the executive branch? Of course they do. So they find a way to buy off the only people who are responsible for regulating them and making sure that they don't abuse their power. That's what they do. And then when you look at the circumstance in its totality, what's the final situation? You have Jamie Dimon sitting in Elizabeth Warren's office saying, what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do. I run this fucking place. Okay, so you don't like that I'm not abiding by the regulations. Fine me. It doesn't fucking matter. Anything you do to me, the worst you could do to me is the equivalent of you or I getting a parking ticket. That's what it is. That's how much it hurts JPMorgan or Citigroup or Bank of America or any of the firms on Wall Street when they do something wrong and when they ruin people's lives and when they tank the world economy. The worst they get is the equivalent of a parking ticket.